Hi everybody, this is Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show. I'm still in Austin, Texas, and I'm getting ready for my show tonight, which is Monday, although you're going to see this on Tuesday. Anyways, it's still really hot here, although we got some crazy thunderstorm that brought the temperature down like 5 degrees. But today I wanted to show you some films about fear. I have a series of films that I've shown, and most of these I've shown before. So one of them is I'm Feeling Scared, Don't Be Afraid, Stage Fright, I Wasn't Scared, which is a crazy film, and then Fears of Children. All these films are really kind of fascinating in how they address the concepts of being afraid. And if you like what you're watching and you want to support AV Geeks, you can do that by hitting the super thanks button and donating. Some people have been donating via ko-fi.com/avgeeks or going to patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are ways that we either buy coffee, which I've been using a lot of here in Austin, and also things like equipment. And one of the things we're going to start raising money for is shelving. We're getting a lot of new shelving because we're moving a lot of stuff off-site and want nice new shelving versus the rusty old, dirty old shelving that we have. But at the very least, hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button. And I will see you live, hopefully tomorrow on Wednesday, if the flight makes it back and everything. But thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.
Every day, and it's all right to have feelings every which way, because feelings make us people every day. But there are happy times and sad times, silly and hairy, scary times, mean and need to scream times. How do you feel right now? Friendly times, gay and let's go play times, frown and feeling down times. How do you feel right now? For there are serious times and furious times, jealous and even envious times, glad I'm so mad times. How do you feel right now? Everybody has feelings every day, and it's all right to have feelings every special person, and I'm feeling this way today.
There are so many things I'm afraid of, scary things night and day. Maybe some things really can't hurt me. Is it all right to feel this way? Come on, hurry up, it's not that high. Oh, come on, I did it. It's real easy. Look at this. Isn't it neato? Stacy, come look. I'm afraid of worms that are icky and mad dogs who jump at me. My friends say worms can hurt me, still I'm scared as can be. Sometimes I have scary thoughts and feelings. Don't be scared, that won't hurt, people say. Then they warn me to watch out for danger. I'm all mixed up and afraid anyway. Why have I been called to the office? It must be a mistake, I bet. I don't think I'm in any trouble, but why are my hands soaking wet? Sometimes I have scary thoughts and feelings. Don't be scared, you're all right, people say. But when I'm called to the principal's office, then I feel scared and afraid anyway.
Okay, no breathe out. Okay?
All of my friends said this would be easy. From up here, things look small. I think I'll jump up tomorrow. Better climb down, I might fall. Sometimes I have scary thoughts and feelings. Don't be scared, you can do it, they say. But what if I should hurt myself badly? Maybe feeling afraid is okay. I looked for Mom and couldn't find her. Did she leave me here alone? I'm scared, what should I do now? I don't know how to get home. Sometimes I have scary thoughts and feelings. Don't be scared, it's alright, people say. She says my mom never would leave me, but I feel scared and afraid anyway. Mom and Dad dragged me to a party. I know that I won't have fun. All the kids probably won't like me. I'm scared. I wish I could run. Sometimes I have scary thoughts and feelings. There is nothing to fear, people say. Why am I scared of meeting new people? I'm all mixed up about feeling this way. What was that? Who's in the doorway? I should not be here alone. Is somebody coming to hurt me? I wish I were already home. Sometimes I have scary thoughts and feelings. Careful now, be on guard, people say. I think sometimes fear can protect me. Maybe feeling afraid is okay.
Billy.
I'm not a bit sleepy.
You have to get up early tomorrow, remember?
Oh, I don't want to go to bed yet.
It's bedtime and sleep time. Now, put these things down. Now get under the covers and out with the lights.
Mom, I'm always awake for ages after the lights are out.
Oh, don't worry. You'll fall asleep right away. You'll be asleep before you know it. Good night, Billy.
Good night.
Billy's mother didn't know the real reason why he didn't want to go to bed. When he was left alone in the dark bedroom, Billy became frightened. He didn't understand about fear, that fear is a natural thing and nothing to be ashamed of, and that there's a way to go about getting over some fears. So he had never told his mother about it.
What is it, Billy? Why aren't you in bed? What's wrong, Billy? Is something the matter?
Mother.
Yes?
Is it all right if I leave the lights on just for tonight?
Oh, is that what's been bothering you?
I thought I saw someone in the room, and I heard noises.
Well, noises always seem louder at night, and then we often imagine all sorts of things that aren't true. Tell me, Billy, are you often afraid like this?
Lots of nights.
Oh, I'm sorry you didn't tell me about this before. You should never be ashamed of telling me when you're afraid of something. Fear is nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody's afraid of something or other. It's very natural. Do you remember what happened a few weeks ago, that Sunday morning? I was making breakfast. You and Dad were waiting so you could get outside to work on the lawn. Do you remember how the bacon fat poured over the stove and caught fire? I was terribly frightened. Your father was frightened, too. Then he remembered an old trick about putting out grease fires, and he quickly smothered the flame. We were all frightened of the fire. It was natural. Being afraid was nature's way of warning us that the fire was dangerous and might harm us. That's what fear is, a warning of danger. Sometimes we're afraid of big things, and sometimes we're afraid of very little ones. But you shouldn't be ashamed of being afraid of something dangerous. No matter whether it's big or little, being afraid is nature's way of reminding us that we should do something to avoid the danger, and to avoid being harmed. Do you remember the time you threw the ball onto the ledge at school? Danny was angry at you for throwing the ball out of bounds and insisted that you get it down. He dared you to climb up the wall on the drain pipe, but it looked too dangerous to you, and you were afraid of losing your grip and falling. So you refused to climb up, even if it was a dare. And the janitor got the ball for you. You see, being afraid of climbing up the wall was your warning that it was very dangerous and that you might be hurt. You showed good common sense when you paid attention to that warning, and you don't have to be ashamed of it. Being afraid was nature's way of getting you to avoid something dangerous. But now there's something else about fear that I don't think you quite understand, Billy.
What's that?
Well, sometimes when you become afraid, there isn't anything that's really dangerous. Sometimes you think things are dangerous when they're not. Sometimes you and most other people grow afraid even when they know there's nothing dangerous. Can you think of anything like that, Billy?
I know. Kathy Lewis used to be afraid of dogs, even when they were friendly. She was so scared she'd cross the street when she saw one.
Well, that's a good example of exactly what I mean.
I found it out one day when I was playing with Scrappy. You know, Mr. Rogers' dog? He's friendly. He wouldn't even hurt a flea. I didn't know she was so fraidy, Cat. I called her to come over, but she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't come back even when I told her the dog wouldn't hurt her. She didn't have to be afraid of the dog. It wouldn't have hurt her. Isn't that what you mean, Mom?
That's just what I mean. And you remember how afraid Keith Hogan was about learning to swim?
That's right. He was scared to go near the water.
Yes. Keith was afraid of something that wouldn't hurt him, too. And there's another kind of being afraid when there's no real danger. That's being afraid of what people might think, especially your parents. Do you remember a few months ago when Mrs. Campbell phoned me after dinner? Frank hadn't been seen since school. They were waiting dinner for him, and poor Mrs. Campbell didn't know what to think. Well, you know what happened. They found Frank down in the basement. His report card had some bad grades on it, and he was afraid of what his mother and father would think. Maybe even that they'd stop loving him. Of course, he found out that he shouldn't have been afraid, that his parents would go on loving him no matter what grades he made. So you can see what I mean when I say there was no real danger there. There are many things that people are afraid of when there's really no danger. Things like fear of being laughed at because their clothes are different or because their marks aren't as good as they might be. They're afraid for all sorts of foolish reasons.
But suppose you are afraid of something, like dogs or the dark. What can you do about it?
Well, each time you're afraid, try to understand whether there's really something to be afraid of. If you're afraid when there's real danger, you can learn ways of protecting yourself. Fear at the right time will make you careful. Fear and wise action, such as Dad took, or such as you took when you wouldn't climb up that wall, you can be proud, not ashamed of.
But how can you tell when there's a real danger or not?
Just stop and think. Common sense will often help. Then, too, try to remember or find out whether other people are afraid of the same things you are. For instance, Kathy could see that you were playing with the dog and that the dog didn't hurt you. She could know from that that there was nothing to be afraid of.
That's right.
So what Kathy needed to do was to try to understand why she was afraid of dogs. Maybe just getting to know some dogs would have helped her get over her fears.
That's what she did do, Mom. Her dad bought her a little puppy to play with. It was the cutest little thing. We all loved it, especially Kathy. That was last summer. The dog's big now. Kathy took good care of him. He got to know dogs so well that she isn't a bit afraid of them anymore. I guess that's what you mean by getting to know and understand the thing you're afraid of.
Yes. Keith got over his fear of the water by taking swimming lessons with a teacher he trusted and believed in.
Yeah, he can swim pretty well now.
There's another thing you can do to help yourself get over a fear when there's no real danger, and that's to talk about your fear with somebody.
Like we're doing now.
That's right. You could talk it over with your parents, a friend, your teacher, your doctor, someone you're fond of and trust. If Frank had only talked with his mother and father about his fear that they might stop loving him if his report card wasn't good, it would have been better for them all. Of course, his parents didn't realize he felt that way. Perhaps they expected too much of Frank. And it may sound funny, but Frank's grades were bad partly because of his fear of his parents. He was afraid he couldn't make good. Talking it over certainly made a big difference to the Campbells. It helped all of them understand each other better. As they talked over his work and work habits and what they expected of him, Frank got over his fear of making poor grades and of not doing well enough to please his father and mother. He's doing much better in school now, isn't he?
Yeah. Gee, Mom, it does help a lot to talk things over.
Billy, would you like to talk about some of the things that you're afraid of? Like why you don't like the room dark?
Well, I'm lonesome. And I'm afraid you and Dad aren't downstairs. That maybe you're on away.
You have my word that we'll never go away without telling you. And of course, never leave you alone. Either we or someone else will always be where you can call. How about it? Ready for sleep now?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, darling. Good night. What about the light, Billy?
Tell you what, Mom. Leave the door open a little instead, will you?
That's fair enough. Good night, son.
Do you think Billy will feel as alone as he did before? Do you think he'll stay awake as long as he used to? Does knowing that others are afraid of real dangers make it easier for Billy to stop worrying about his own fears? And when he remembers that some people are afraid when there's no real danger, does that make it easier for Billy to understand some of his own fears? Billy refused to climb the drain pipe because it looked dangerous. Yet at the same time, he had another fear. He was afraid he might be called a coward by his friends. He had to decide which was the real fear. Do you think he decided correctly? And do you think that the story of Frank's being afraid of what his parents might think helped Billy understand his own fears better? Did it help Billy to talk over his fears with his mother? What do you think?
There may not be many people who can speak from experience about how it feels to jump out of an airplane, but there are probably quite a few who, given a choice between making the jump or making a speech about it, would rather face the fall. If you're one of them, if stage fright has you up in the air, let's consider how to cope with it so you land on your feet. The first step in learning to control stage fright, in making it work for you, lies in understanding it, what it is, why it happens. Stage fright is fear, of course, physical fear with all its symptoms: a rapidly beating heart, a flushed face, a dry mouth, and tremors of the hand, compelling some kind of nervous action to dispel them. And that's the whole point of all the physical manifestations: action. When you are confronted with any kind of fear-inducing situation, chemical changes take place inside your body to pave the way for action. In a bloodstream circulating at a pace sufficient for normal activities, the release of a temporary oversupply of adrenaline triggered by fear causes a circulatory speed-up, a kind of instant re-gearing for a higher level of performance. That's why seasoned performers, like concert artists, welcome the butterflies that come backstage. They know they'll give a higher level of performance because of them. A professional actor will dispel some of his excess anxiety in the way nature meant it to be dispelled: by action, by pacing back and forth before he goes on stage. Now, why does a speaker get an overdose of adrenaline? And most do. Why this response to danger syndrome when there's no physical danger apparent? You get it because you care about what others think of you. Your life may not be at stake, but your sense of pride, of self-importance, certainly is. You look at them, and you imagine that they're bored. They're thinking how funny you look. Or they're disagreeing with you. You imagine it. In other words, you've psyched yourself into the same state you'd experience if you were facing fire and shell. But what you can psych yourself into, you can psych yourself out of. And you begin by concentrating on something besides yourself and your shortcomings.
The thing to remember is that you wouldn't have been asked to speak if someone didn't want to hear what you have to say. A real desire to communicate can obscure a physical handicap and help overcome stage fright. By concentrating on communication, you do away with your consciousness of self. You don't have to have the good looks of a movie star to be a good speaker. Not even all movie stars are handsome or beautiful. Abraham Lincoln was not the dashing man of his time. Winston Churchill was not exactly thin. And Franklin Roosevelt often delivered his talks to the nation from a wheelchair.
It's true. Great speakers concentrate on the message. They know that no one is born free of the mechanisms that trigger stage fright, that we're all in the same boat, and that what we have to say is what is going to carry us through the rough waters of stage fright. So spend as much time as you can developing what you have to say. Find out all there is to know about your subject. Keep digging for facts and information, much more than you can possibly use. Why? Because some of what you dig out is going to be odd, interesting, unusual. The very kind of hooks that will make your material interesting and important to your audience. Inspiration rarely, if ever, comes out of the blue. Inspiration is a byproduct of the perspiration you pour into research and preparation. Picture your future audience in your mind and decide what result you want to get from them. Do you want to persuade, inform, entertain? Have a clear grasp of the effect you wish to create. Then practice. Develop your confidence in your outline or notes by actual tests before an audience that can be both critical and appreciative. You. Don't memorize or write out your text unless for some reason you must read it. Know how you're going to begin and end, but use your notes only to make certain you cover all you want to say. When you're up there with all eyes upon you, the better you look, the better you're going to feel. So before the big day, get the clothes that make you feel best. And take care of personal grooming. The speaker who is least self-conscious may be the one who was most conscious of self beforehand. Comes the dawn. Are you going to be a nerveless man of steel? No. You're not a robot. You'll feel tension. But your self-preconditioning will help control the tension so that most traces of it are hidden. And what's left will spark your performance.
Jim recently qualified to compete in this year's National Skydiving Championships. Today, he is going to tell us a little bit about the sport of skydiving. Jim?
Speaking and jumping have much in common. Listen.
Skydiving, like many other things, is simply a matter of self-control, a state of mind. Most jumpers never completely overcome their sense of fear, but this is not necessarily a bad thing. A little bit of controlled fear, apprehension, or whatever you choose to call it, makes you more alert and more perceptive. Everyone who wants to learn to skydive must learn to control his fear. Uncontrolled fear can be a dangerous handicap, but properly managed tension can give you the sense of power and confidence that you will need until you're back on the ground. I would now like to show you a picture of some of the main parts that a parachute jumper must have. First,
visual aids can be lifesavers for a speaker, giving him strings to pull, so to speak, to satisfy his body's need for action under stress, letting him talk with his body to help break his tensions and free his mind to concentrate on what he is saying. But if you use visual aids, be careful not to become so preoccupied with them that you lose eye contact with your listeners. Remember, those people out there are participating too, so interact with them as individuals. Look at them. Pick out the friendly ones, those who are truly interested, and respond to their interest, but not always to the same ones. Let those who seem to be bored or preoccupied interact with their private worlds. If you let yourself go, be yourself, use body motions and facial expressions that telegraph your interest and involvement with your subject, you will start creating images in the minds of your listeners.
You know that you have done something worthwhile. You've answered a challenge to yourself. You somehow feel more important, like nothing can really hold you back.
When they feel what you feel, see in their mind's eye what you have seen, you are communicating. You'll sense it, and nothing else will do so much to develop a positive frame of mind. Not everyone can speak from experience on such an unusual topic as skydiving, but everyone speaks from some kind of experience. Experience your audience wants to share, or you wouldn't have been asked to speak in the first place. So build your confidence by fulfilling your audience's wish to share. Emphasize the message. Recognize that the fear of stage fright is real, but the dangers are largely imaginary. Be your own doctor and analyze your fears. If they're all in your mind, you're the only one who can get them out. Then get them out by thorough preparation. Know your subject so well that you have more ideas than you need and can express them clearly and effectively. Define your purpose. If you know what effect you intend to achieve with your audience, it will give you confidence, particularly in persuasive situations. Practice. Know how you intend to begin and end, and use notes only as reminders of the points you want to include. Use whatever good speech techniques you've observed in others, especially those such as visual aids, which involve body movement and help to break your tension. Rely on the positive attitude you get from careful grooming and from interacting with the friendly faces. And finally, accumulate experience. With time, practice, and patience, you'll gain the inner poise and self-assurance to be at your best before an audience, to get the jump on stage fright.
You learn to respect and trust your equipment. You have confidence in it, and you know how to use it properly. That first step is a long, long one, and when things start to happen, it's vital that they happen properly.
The reward for mastering stage fright is a thrill that surpasses skydiving. A satisfaction with yourself which remains long after the applause is over.
About this? What do you mean? What if it isn't safe? Pam's been here hundreds of times. There's lots of fish. Well, I don't know. Stop being a scaredy cat. I'm not scared. Come on, then. Any fish in here. Ken Gilmore's a fibber. He is not. We're never going to catch anything. We haven't even had a nibble yet. That's because you've been talking the whole time. We're not even supposed to be here. What if we get caught? Why, they got something. Oh, you have not. A stick! We've been here for over an hour, and all you've caught is a stupid stick. Come on, it's 2:30. Let's go. Nag, nag, nag. All you ever do is nag. It's not my fault I have to babysit you. Look, I can take care of myself. Well, Mom doesn't think so. Why are you so stubborn? Maybe if you shut up, I'll leave. Will you hurry up? You aren't such a baby. I just leave you here. Hey, I'll do it. You're not fast enough. Oh, leave me alone. Oh, be quiet. Oh, you be quiet yourself. You little rat! When I catch you, you better watch out. gonna hit you. Come on out, Todd. Come over here, fast. What is it? What does it look like, stupid? It's a bomb. A what? An old bomb. I tripped on it. Let's get out of here. Don't touch it. Oh, relax. It's just an old dot. I've seen lots of them. Oh, sure. Hey, let's take it with us. Wait till Ken sees this. Are you kidding? Whoa! Stop that. Oh, come on. It's just a dud. How do you know? What if it blows up and kills us? So? So I'll get the blame. Now, come on. Oh, how can you get the blame if you're dead? Well, I think we should tell the police. They wouldn't believe you. I don't think you should do that. Run! Get over that fence. Stop laughing. Boy, were you scared. Look, you smarten up now. We have to get the police. Why? What if it explodes? It would have gone off by now. I want to take it home. No way. Oh, guess what? What is it now? My pack. I left it there. Now we gotta go back. Oh, Todd. Listen, when I took that propeller off, it meant it can't explode. You don't know that. Oh, I'm going to get my fishing rod and everything. Never mind your fishing rod. That's a real bomb. We're going to get the police. It's just a dud. Look, get on your bike. Stop pushing. Come on, I'll race you to the highway. Oh, go race yourself. You want a race? You got one. Okay, I'm going to get the police. I don't care what you do. Okay, you little brat, you're going to get it now.
RCMP car 448, confirm your location. Over.
Yes, Highway 15, 2 miles east of Concession Road 9, over.
EOD 11, roger, out.
There's like a bumpy road that turns into the left. And you go in, and then,
Approximately how far is it from here?
I'd say about a mile and a half.
Okay, now just take it easy. Detachment to car 448, over.
Yes, we have the bomb disposal unit here now.
Did you do anything to it?
Todd took the propeller off.
He did what? When?
He took the propeller off. I don't know when. Nothing happened. Just some smoke came out.
Okay, now think, Debbie. When did you do this exactly?
It didn't explode.
Well, I know, but it will. There could be a chemical delay fusing that bomb. Let's go.
Come on, Debbie. Request ambulance to my location, bombing range, half a mile south, Concession Road 6 off of Highway 15, over.
This is where the bomb was.
Okay, Debbie. Do you have any idea where he went from here?
No, I don't know.
Debbie, come here. Is this your brother's jacket? Let's go. Now stay where you are. Don't move.
It's a real bomb. Do as he said.
Harry, take Debbie back. Todd, can you take the pack off?
I can't!
Okay, stop. I'm coming to help. Don't move. Just freeze.
Stay down, Debbie.
Stay still. Get your care of this. Now run. Get out of here. Leave that machine.
Beats the cake, huh, George?
$6 million man. You're a very lucky boy.
Well, I wasn't scared.
Oh, yeah? Well, I was, son. I was.
Mommy. Mommy.
Good morning, baby.
Mommy, I had a bad dream last night.
Oh, baby. Daddy's still asleep. We better be quiet.
Read to me, Mommy.
Not now, darling. We'll wake up Daddy.
Please, Mommy.
Morning.
thought this was to be the age when he'd let us get some sleep.
I'm sorry, dear. We didn't mean to wake you up, did we, Paul?
Well, I better get up now.
I have to get up too, dear.
Daddy, you eat to me.
Oh, no, not now. Daddy has to get ready for work. We'll read it when I come home tonight. How's that? Hmm? Helen, there's a button off this shirt.
Oh, dear. Just a minute, and I'll get my button box. I hope I can find one like it. If I didn't want a shirt button, there'd be dozens of them.
Say, now, there is a button. Now, what are you saving that for?
Are you making fun of me?
Who, me?
Paul. Paul, put those scissors down. You'll cut yourself. Paul, you must never, never touch those scissors. Do you hear? You might put your eye out, baby. Now, go on and get dressed.
Let me see those scissors, Helen. Well, they're so dull they wouldn't cut paper. We bought them for Paul. He knows how to use them. I don't see how I can be late with a nice early start like this. Paul, will you please take George out of here? You're old enough to know you're making Daddy late for work. Helen, he's old enough to be taught to feel some sense of responsibility.
Responsibility? At 5? Come on now, dear. The eggs are done. Let's eat.
Come on, Paul. Breakfast ready. Paul, I'm speaking to you.
Oh, now come and drink your juice, dear. The eggs are getting cold and Daddy's late for work. Oh.
Oh, why do you worry your mother this way? She fixes you a nice hot breakfast and you just sit there and let it get cold. Now, come on now. We don't want to be any later than we are already.
I don't want any breakfast.
If you don't eat, you're going to be sick.
Helen. You know, Paul, I saw Mike Tuttle's father yesterday. Do you know how much Mike weighs now? 48 pounds. He's only 4.5. Now, if you don't eat, Mike's going to get ahead of you.
I don't care.
If you don't come to the table, Daddy might have to punish you. That's a good boy.
That's better.
I'll just take George, dear. Orange juice first, Paul.
Why?
Helen,
Because...
could I have some coffee, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, dear. I didn't know your cup was empty.
I want some too.
Now that does it. You just leave the table and go to your room. You can be as sulky as you please all by yourself.
Jim, it was an accident. Please let him finish his breakfast. He didn't mean to upset the coffee.
Oh, it isn't just the coffee, it's the way he's been acting all morning. Contrary and disagreeable. Now go on, Paul.
Jim, please let him have another chance. He's sorry. Tell Daddy you're sorry, Paul. come here.
Oh, well, why don't you buy a heavier stocking, Helen? I was seeing in the paper the other day that there's no difference, really, in looks. The 15 denier may seem thinner, you know, but the 30 denier wears twice as long. And I got some. John told me about it, as a matter of fact, and so I got some.
They really look just as well? You know, the sales girl told me that I could buy the 15, and if they were washed before I wore them. What do you do with a child like that?
I don't think there's any danger there, Helen. Just the rocks the youngsters like to play around.
Hey, Paul! Come on! Up through the cave! Come on!
Paul, are you all right? Are you hurt?
Mike, what happened to Paul?
He's all right. He's just scared. Mommy, I went all the way through.
Come back the way you went in, dear. Here, to me.
Oh, Mommy.
What's the matter, Paul? Are you hurt? Oh, what is it, dear? Oh, please stop crying, Paul. It's all over. Mike went all the way through and he's not crying. Now let's blow our nose and dry our eyes. We wouldn't want Mike and his mother to see us this way. Where's your mitten, dear? Did you lose your mitten in there? His father'll be furious. It's a brand new pair. Now, dear, run on back in and get the mitten. There's nothing to be afraid of, dear.
Helen, don't make Paul go back in that cave. He's scared to death.
Why, that's the only way he'll get over being frightened.
Let Mike get his mitten for him. Mike, come back through the cave and bring Paul's mitten, dear. Come on, Helen, let's go to my house and have some coffee. Mike, why don't you take Paul into the other room to play?
All right. Come on, Paul.
Alice, I just don't understand. Why was Paul so frightened?
Well, after all, you did tell him it was dangerous.
Well, it was dangerous. You saw what happened.
Yes, he got scared.
Well, of course he did. He's only a baby. I can't let him take the chances you let Mike take.
What chances?
Well, letting him go climbing all over those rocks, for one thing.
Now, Helen, think. What's dangerous about that? All the children in the neighborhood play around those rocks. Come on, Helen. Can't you see who's scaring Paul?
Alice, it isn't just the fears. Paul is forever sulking. And Jim's so anxious to break him of it that, Well, I'm afraid sometimes he's too severe with Paul. But Paul does everything to irritate Jim. Does Mike ever behave that way?
Helen, if you had heard Mike shout at his daddy yesterday, you'd stop worrying about a little sulking. You really let him have it.
Then what happened?
Well, Big Mike almost got angry, but he held himself in. He's learned to accept the idea that little boys get angry at their papas at this age, and pretty often. But they get over it.
But you can't let a child behave that way.
Oh, yes, you can. We don't let him do any real damage. What if he does shout at one of us, or bang things around a little? That's how he gets back at us when he's mad.
Well, how do you know that's the way to handle this?
Helen, I'm going to tell you a secret. Last spring, we had a lot of trouble with Mike. It was the same kind of thing. Constant sulking, too many fears, bad dreams. So I went to our doctor. He's a very understanding man, Helen, and he taught us both a lot. I had to learn that all little boys get angry with their parents. They're supposed to. And we both had to learn not to get angry back at him. It took some work. But once we really believed it, well, we're getting along fine now. And he's not having so many of those bad dreams anymore.
I think Alice is right about you not letting Paul do the things the other boys do. We don't want to make a sissy out of him.
Oh, I know, Jim. Alice is right.
Well, she's right except for one thing. I disagree with her about her not letting Paul go back into the cave and get his mitten. I think you should have made him go back and find it.
That's what I thought at first, Jim, but if you'd seen his face.
Daddy, I finished my bath.
Jim, dear, be a little bit easy on him tonight, will you?
Ah, don't you worry. Hi, young fella. Here's your towel, and here's your teddy bear to take to bed with you. Come on, young fella, you're to dry yourself.
Jim, dear, the dishes are all washed and ready.
Coming in a minute. There you are. Now brush your teeth and get all ready for bed, and then come on down and say goodnight to Mommy and me. That infernal turtle.
Daddy, you kicked George.
What are you doing to your bear, darling? You mustn't put him in the water. He's not made for that. Goodness, I hope you haven't spoiled him. Oh, Paul, the brand new bear that Daddy just gave you. I'm glad he didn't see this. Now, let's not say anything to Daddy about this, Paul.
Daddy kicked George.
Well, I'm sure it was an accident, dear.
No, it wasn't.
Now, come along, Paul. Daddy's waiting to put you to bed.
All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Hey. Get your feet under. Atta boy. You're all snuggle down now. Get your head down. There we go. Good night.
Daddy.
What?
Don't turn out the light.
Now, we're not going to start that again, are we? I thought we went over all that. We decided you were old enough not to be afraid of the dark anymore.
Just tonight, Daddy.
Now, there's nobody in here but you. There's nothing to be afraid of. Mommy and Daddy are right downstairs. So let's just get some sleep.
Please, Daddy, leave the light.
No, Paul.
Jim, why don't you let him have the light? Please. He's still so upset from this morning.
Helen, I'm getting a little tired of this. It's time we took a stand.
But what harm does it do to let him have the light?
The sooner he learns that nothing's going to hurt him in the dark, the better for him. The better for him and the better for us.
But he's so little.
Oh, Helen, there you go, coddling him again. That only makes it harder for him in the long run. Now's the time for a little discipline.
Jim, you're not disciplining him. Don't you see that? You're just punishing him.
Mommy. Mommy.
What is it, Paul?
Can I have a drink of water?
See? He's not so much frightened as wanting attention.
Of course he wants attention. Why shouldn't he?
Helen, if you go up there now, you'll have the same problem all over again tomorrow night.
Mommy.
I just want to see if he's all right.
I just saw him 2 minutes ago, and he was perfectly safe. Please, Helen.
All right, Jim.
See, I think he's asleep now. Wake up, Paul. Paul, wake up. You're having a nightmare. It's all right. Mommy and Daddy are here.
Mommy, Mommy, Mommy.
What is it? What frightened you?
The bear, the big bear.
There isn't any bear, darling.
Make the big bear go away, Mommy.
Good Lord, Helen, he's scared of me. I won't hurt you, boy.
Jim, dear, why don't you let me stay alone with Paul for just a minute? Hmm? nothing to be frightened of, darling. There isn't any there. You just dreamed it. Now, Mummy is here.
Is he all right?
He's going back to sleep.
What's happened to the boy, Helen? I've never seen him so scared. Don't tell me it was because I wouldn't let him have the light.
No, dear, I think that's just part of it. It must take more than that to frighten a child so badly.
Well, what, Helen?
Well, for one thing, I think you and Alice may be right. Perhaps I am frightening him too much with little threats and false alarms.
Yes, I know. But he was scared of me.
I honestly think you've been pushing him too hard, Jim.
Well, I think you've been babying him.
I know, dear. I know that now. I have been keeping him too close to me. But pushing him won't help that.
How are you going to teach him not to be afraid? What are you going to do when he starts to sulk? I can stand anything but that sulking. That's the one thing my father wouldn't tolerate.
Alice tells me little boys this age get angry and sulky with their parents from time to time. And then they're afraid they'll be punished for it.
Well, what do? Just let him go hog wild?
No, but you let him get it out of his system.
Well, how?
Well, you let him yell at you sometimes without getting mad at him. And you let him take it out on his toys.
Oh, that's nonsense, Helen.
Was Paul's nightmare nonsense? Jim, I want to show you something. Paul thought you kicked his turtle tonight. He got pretty mad at you. What he did to his bear.
You think that little devil drowned the bear?
Yes, he did. Here you are, drowned.
By golly, the old man better watch his step. Go ahead, Paul. Go on through. Nothing in there gonna hurt you.
I don't want to.
Oh, go on. Show Daddy you're not afraid.
No, Daddy.
Oh, go on, Paul.
No!
Don't you yell at... I guess you can get pretty mad sometimes. Hi.
Hi.
Where do you want to go?
Okay.